On this episode of United, you drive for show, but you putt for dough. We'll show you some tips on the green. Sacrifice. It takes a lot of it to be a student athlete, but we'll show you why it's worth it. And we'll hit the weight room to show you how to pump iron the right way. United starts now.
Hi, welcome back to United. Scott Adams here with you. And in the game of golf, it makes up almost 50% of the game, and that is putting, as we're now joined by head coach Emily Klein of the UCF golf team. And coach, you're there on the LPGA tour for almost 11 years. The game of putting always so crucial in affecting your overall outcome of your round.
Yeah, it's so important. Putting makes up half of the game, as you said, and we just really have to focus on getting better in putting all the time because it does make such a big difference. If you don't putt well, you don't score well. Balance.
Balance is crucial in the game of golf. Also, maybe concentration there when you get up to the green.
Yeah, they're both very important. If you have good balance and good technique, you can putt well, but you have to keep that focus going so that you know exactly what you want to do when you want to do it.
And one thing that also changes is your grip there on the golf club, from your long distance game now to getting there up there on the green itself.
Yeah, and there's many different types of grips. You'll see conventional grips, cross-handed grips, and it all comes down to feel, what feels the best and most comfortable to each player.
And then once you get up there onto the green to go ahead and maybe get that birdie or that par, your alignment in terms of getting that putt right and set up correctly.
Yeah, you have to read the green and then line up the putt, and if you don't, you're not going to make putts. So it really comes down to a lot of technique when it comes with putting.
Well, let's go ahead now and take a look at some of those key important factors to the short game.
I'm here today with Victoria Tomko. She's a junior on my team, and we're going to show you all about putting today. First, she's going to take a stance. As you can tell, she's got cross-handed grip, which gives you more stability with putting. You can go cross-handed or conventional, but cross-handed tends to be the way a lot of top players go. Also, her feet are going to be about shoulder width apart. She's got really good balance where she's on both feet evenly, and this makes for great technique for putting. One of the drills that we do is called the clock drill, and this is where we go from about 2.5 to 3 feet, and we go around the hole hitting different shots where you hit different breaks with each putt, as well as you work on your stroke. Victoria here is demonstrating we put the tees down so that we have a good idea of where each one is, and we try to make 20 in a row. Okay, on this drill, Victoria is now going to hit a putt that's about 10 to 15 feet long, and the goal here is to keep it above the hole, but also just get it past the hole and in between the tee. This gives us really good feel, gets us to where we get always make sure we're above the hole, which is the best side to be when you're trying to make putts, as well as it gives us good distance control. When we practice this putt, you also start making more putts, as you can see Victoria just made one, and it just really helped our speed control on our team. One of the things we really focus on this drill is trying to get a target. When you read the break, make sure you know exactly which direction it's going, and then pick a target halfway in between that helps you keep the line and keeps your focus. I'd say some of the biggest mistakes are not getting it to the front of the hole. We want to make sure we get it past the hole because that way it'll fall in. But also we want to keep the speed to where it doesn't pass the tee so that way it's always within a range that if it hits the hole, it will still fall in. One of the other techniques that we use is when we line up a ball. As you can see on Victoria's ball, she has a line that she draws on her ball that helps her when she sets up. Now when she sets up, she'll put it down on the line which she has read the break. This technique is very important to make sure that you have it on the right line. If you haven't read the break correctly and you do this, you're probably going to miss your putt. So make sure that you've read it correctly and then line up and go through with your proper technique. Grip is also really important when we're talking about technique. Right now, Victoria is showing us a conventional putting grip, but she actually putts cross-handed. Cross-handed gives a lot of stability, making sure the left hand goes down towards the target line. It also makes sure that you don't break down your hands as much. With this, most of the top players you'll see will start playing with conventional now, and it's made a big difference in their consistency in putting. When we're getting ready for tournaments, practicing long putts is very important. We call it lag putting. What you do is first you make sure you have the break correct. Then she'll line up the putt, make sure it's on the exact line that she has read the putt to be on. Finally, she'll take a couple of practice strokes that are going to be what she expects to be the correct speed for the putt. Now she's going to really focus on making sure she gets it right around the hole. I'd say within about an 18-inch range of the hole is perfect, because that way we'll have a tap-in putt.
In the game of golf, your short game ever so important. Stay right there as we'll have more United coming up next.
Did you know that NCAA Division I member institutions, like UCF, must sponsor a minimum of 7 men's sports and 7 women's sports, or 6 men's sports and 8 women's sports, to stay a Division I competitor? UCF currently sponsors a total of 15 individual sports at the Division I level in Conference USA. Stay tuned for our United trivia question later in the show to see if you know another NCAA Division I membership requirement.
To be a student athlete in a Division I program is unlike anything else in the collegiate world. It takes a huge amount of sacrifice, dedication, and hard work, but the rewards are endless. We're now going to take a look at what it takes to be a student athlete and just how special it really can be.
Student athlete, in my opinion, is someone who can incorporate both their academics and their athletics into one and excel at both.
One thing that makes a student athlete very unique has to be their dedication. I don't think that you can go a day without it.
The sacrifice that you put in, it feels really great at the end of the day when you know that after all the sacrificing, I'm going to be able to play at the top-notch level. I'm going to be able to achieve all my academic goals.
Academics really does come first, and that, if we don't take care of that aspect of what we do, we never see the court.
A lot of people think, oh, well, you come and you get your scholarship and it's good all 4 years. Every year, our scholarships are renewable. You can be dropped, you can get increased, but it's based on performance, not only in your sport, but also academically as well.
And being passionate about the sport, you can do everything that you can so that you're on the field ready to play.
It takes a very driven person. A lot of times you go home at night after maybe getting off a flight at 4 o'clock in the morning, and you're like, man, why am I doing this? This is hard. But it's just that drive to get better and to compete and win.
And you got out with a college education, and your teammates, you got to meet some great people, you got to experience lots of things, you got to travel to lots of places.
Down to the basics, the best part of being a student athlete by far is just the experience.
The coolest thing about being a student athlete is just hearing the fans in the background, just the rush that you get when you step on the field. It's probably the best experience that you can ever have.
The best part about being in college as a student athlete is definitely the trips. We get to go to really cool places. A lot of places I probably wouldn't get to go to if I wasn't part of UCF.
Getting to be with your team every day, getting to be with a great coaching staff that's willing to care about you as an athlete, a student, and a person.
You become so close with these people, you travel with them, you eat with them, you live with them.
It's definitely been a transformation. I've gotten a chance to do things that I never thought I would do, both on the court, off the court.
Having the support from the university that backs your sport, having the support from the teachers, your coaches, your teammates.
I mean, knowing that you have 20 other girls doing the same thing with you, it's like you always have someone to turn to when you're struggling to help you push through it.
You wouldn't be here if there wasn't a great belief in you to be a great athlete or a great student at that point. If you ever get to the point where you want to walk away, you have to just question what you really want in life, and you have to do what makes you happy. And if it's not something that makes you happy, then there's no reason in doing it.
As a seasoned veteran to a high school athlete, I would say to stick with it as long as you can, to play until your body can't play anymore, to give until you can't give anymore, and make sure that you keep on with your academic pursuits and your athletic pursuits and try to have a balance in your life and just go for it.
Just like anything else in life, NCAA athletics and college life can be a demanding adventure that puts a unique pressure on a student athlete. Coming up next on United, we're going to sit down with one of the 100 most powerful men in sports and talk to him about breaking the stereotype that follows a student athlete. Stay tuned.
Time now for our United trivia question. What is another requirement the NCAA places on their member institutions to compete at the Division I level? Is it scheduling a certain number of Division I opponents, meeting minimum financial aid requirements for their programs, not exceeding maximum financial aid awards for their programs, or football attendance requirements at home games? We'll have the answer after the break. It's time for the answer to this episode's trivia question. What is another requirement the NCAA places on their member institutions to play at the highest level, Division I? This was a trick question. All of these answers are requirements for a school to be an NCAA Division I institution. There are many more requirements, but opponent scheduling, financial aid awards, and football attendance numbers are just a few. For more information on the NCAA, you can go to www.ncaa.org.
Welcome back to United. I'm Megan Clementi. We are following up on the public's general perception of what a student athlete is, and as my guest, I have Dr. Richard E. Lapchick. He has been named one of the 100 most powerful people in sports, and he's led the pioneering efforts to ensure the education of student athletes from junior high through the professional ranks. Dr. Lapchick, let's talk about the definition of the public perception of a student athlete.
I think the public is confused about student athletes. I think they read enough negative stories about athletes that sometimes they paint all student athletes with that brush. I've worked with athletes for the past 40 years, and almost all of them are deeply community-oriented, family-centered, deeply religious. They're not the image that I think the general public has, but student athletes are at least in a position where this public gives them a little bit more chance because they're still college students. Once they get beyond college into the pros, that's where the stereotypes really start to hit hard.
Do you think that the public holds a student athlete to a higher regard than most?
In a higher regard or to a higher standard?
Higher standards.
I think they expect more of student athletes. They're the public face of the university in a lot of ways. So if an athlete does something that's antisocial or illegal, it's going to stand out. It's going to be in the newspapers. If I do something illegal, probably not, but if they do, it's going to be there in the front of the sports section day after day.
Do you think that's fair?
I think that it's not fair that we hold athletes to a higher standard, but that's the way it is. I think it's not fair that we consider them all role models, but that's the way it is, and I think that's why it's incumbent on student athletes and their coaches and administrators to prepare them to be able to reach out and help in the community, because there's nobody in a better position on a college campus to reach out to young people and help them through the crisis that so many young people face.
Now, I'm not sure that the public realize what a student athlete has to go through. They have road trips, media spotlight, they have to work on their academics. What are some of the pressures that a student athlete has to face day to day?
Well, the student athlete isn't a typical student. First of all, everybody knows who they are. People are asking them things that they wouldn't ask a typical student. Professors sometimes stereotype them and think that they're not going to be good students, even if they're great students, just because they're dumb jocks. It's something that we've worked hard to try to fight that stereotype for a long time, but it's still alive. I think they have so many additional time demands, the trips away from campus, they can't attend every class. So professors are either making exceptions for them or resenting the fact that they have to make exceptions for them. That's why I think it's really important that athletic departments build partnerships with the faculty so that the faculty understands that these young people are probably actually working harder than most students on campus, putting in more time for the university, giving more back to the university, and they should be treated with the respect that any student would with those additional demands.
Do you think the students learn anything from that as far as being a student athlete with all the extra pressures and responsibility that goes along with that title?
If a student athlete manages their time well and handles the pressure well, it's a great learning experience because they're going to be prepared for the pressures of the real world. Once they get out, they'll have had experiences that typical students won't. They'll have had to answer questions that typical students are never asked. And I think they're going to be more prepared to deal with the real world.
So what kind of advice would you give to a young athlete that's aspiring to be the next Dante Culpepper or Kevin Smith, the big superstar athlete of the future?
If I really thought they were a superstar athlete and had that potential, I'd advise them to get the best possible team of advisors around them, people who could advise them financially, advise them socially, advise them to how to deal with the public, how to be in front of the public in a positive way. You know, it's just as easy to give a positive response to a journalist who's approaching you as it is to kind of brush them off. And they're going to be held in esteem by the journalists, where they're going to write better stories about them. The public's going to embrace them. You see, anytime an athlete gets involved with a community, there's a tremendous win-win situation that goes on there. The athlete is suddenly treated as somebody who's not just an athlete, but somebody who's intelligent. People ask them what they think about the world, about politics, about society, about the economy. That's an opportunity to grow that few young people have.
So in short, it means a lot more to be a student athlete than just being good at a sport.
The sports part is an important part for a student athlete, but you know, we like to call them a scholar citizen athlete because they have that citizenship component, they have the scholarly component, and the athletic component. They have the potential to leave UCF or whatever school they're at as a more well-rounded person than any other student on campus.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hey, this is LT from 101.1 WJRR. You're listening to the best sounds of area music. UCF Athletics, Access Magazine, and WJRR are proud to support local artists.
You can do anything. I've been there, I have seen how to laugh, how to sing, how to cry. I know there's something there, something you have to wear. It's growing, it's building, and now is the time.
Hi, my name's Coach Sinclair. This is Coach Falk, and we're assistant strength and conditioning coaches at the University of Central Florida. Today we're going to show you the bench press. He's going to take a comfortable grip with his hands, not too wide, not too close. We like the athletes, or we like you to wrap the thumb around the bar as opposed to taking the thumb on the other side. We feel it's a little bit more safe. So he's going to wrap his thumb around the bar. He's going to take a nice deep breath in, lift the bar up. He's going to bring down on a 4-second count and drive up on a 2-second count, trying to touch the bar in his mid-chest, not too low on his stomach, not too high up on his chest, and drive up. Big breath down, control, and drive up, keeping his feet flat, his butt flat to the bench. When you come down, you don't want to bounce it off the chest. There's a good chance you're going to injure your sternum or any muscles or internal organs when you're bouncing the bar off the chest. You don't want to bounce. You want to come down nice and smooth and drive the bar up. That's number one. The second common mistake you see a lot of times is bar placement, where the bar should hit on the chest. Coach Falk's going to bring the bar down and touch right across his mid-chest. That's a good bench press. Now, sometimes you see people bring the bar down and touch on their stomach, or they may bring it up too high and touch on their upper chest. It's not safe. You may bring it down too far on your stomach and may not be able to push it back up, or you may bring it too far on your upper chest and the bar may actually slide down on your neck. The third common mistake we see a lot of times is people elevating their butt off the bench and driving their hips up too high. You have a good chance of straining your lower back, not to mention you turn the bench press, which is a flat bench, into a decline bench by doing that. Make sure when you're doing a bench press, you always have a spotter with you. It doesn't matter what your weight is, because if you're doing reps, you may burn out. You may not be able to lift the bar back up. If you're doing a heavy weight, you may not be able to lift the bar back up. So you want to make sure you have a good spotter. Coach Falk will tell me when to lift. I'll lift it off for him, and I'll be right here just in case he needs it to spot. And anytime he needs help, I'll put my hands on the bar, grab it, and guide it back in the rack for him. So just one more issue that you need to make sure you're aware of when you're doing the bench press. Another thing we do to add variety to our bench press, as well as allow people with shoulder problems, elbow problems, range of motion problems, is to add a block to our bench press. Now, sometimes we do a single block, we'll do a double block, or today we have a triple block. And all the block does is limit the range of motion, as well as keep a lot of pressure on the tricep muscle, which is right here under his arm. So Coach Falk will bring down, touch the block, and drive back up. Not only do we come down and touch, he may actually come down and pause on one. Pause on the block and drive up. Another way we incorporate variety into our bench press training is by doing a close grip bench press. Now, Coach Falk, instead of a wide grip or a neutral grip, what he feels comfortable, we're going to take a close grip. He's going to keep his elbows in tight, his hands are in tight, and now he's doing a bench press, and we're really targeting our tricep muscle right here on the back side of the arm by keeping our elbows in and our hands in. It's another way to do a bench press, but it's a close grip bench press. Now we're still hitting our chest, but we're hitting a lot more triceps by keeping our hands inside. Not to mention, it's very sport specific to the game of football. When the coaches are telling our players, keep your hands inside, keep your hands inside. Well, when you're doing a bench press, your hands are inside, your elbows are in, so it's specific to a sport as well. Another alternative you can do, instead of a bar bench press, it's still a bench press exercise, but you can do a dumbbell bench press. This allows you to use both sides of your body equally. You may be able to find a muscle imbalance if one side is weaker than the other, as well as if you have an injury. If your shoulders hurt or your arms hurt, you may be able to do one arm lighter than the other, or actually do just one arm bench press. So now this is the dumbbell bench press. Nice and smooth, controlled, and he drives up. Nice and controlled and drive up. You can also turn this into a close grip bench press just by turning your hands and keeping your elbows in. Now he's doing a dumbbell bench press, but it's more of a close grip because his elbows are into his body and his hands are a little bit closer. The last thing would be when you're spotting dumbbells. We like to coach our athletes to spot on the wrist. So now when he goes down, I spot him on his wrist. And by holding here, if he starts to fall in, I can control it. A lot of times you see people spot here and it will fall. So we like to spot by the wrist and not by the elbow when we're spotting a dumbbell bench. We think these exercises really benefit the overall upper body strength, the triceps, the chest, the grip, the core. We think these exercises can really do something for you as well in your training program. Give them a try, change them up, and see how they work for you.